Mother's Day. 3 years after the accident, and Hollow Creek remained just as bleak as the night Marion Clark died. The spring wind whispered through the aging pine trees that lined the hills, carrying with it a hush that the locals had come to call the voices of the gone. But for Ivy Clark, 22, and her younger brother Noah, 17, they didn't need wind or whispers. Their pain was still there, silent, untouched by time, refusing to rot away like everything else in town. They lived alone now in the wooden house halfway up the hill, once filled with laughter from 3 voices. Now, only 2 remained. 2 shadows. 2 strangers serving the same sentence in the same prison of grief. 3 years ago, on a storm-drenched night, their mother, Marion Clark, drove off into the rain after a brutal argument. Ivy had discovered that their mother was secretly planning to take them away from Hollow Creek without explanation. Marion only said, "Something is coming." But for a 19-year-old dreaming of college and freedom, it felt like betrayal. "I wish you'd just disappear," Ivy screamed, her tears laced with rage. Noah, only 14 at the time, said nothing. He didn't stop her. He only turned away as their mother tried to hug him one last time. They didn't know that was the last time they'd ever see her alive. The next morning, Marion's car was found overturned at the edge of a dried-out lake bed. The windshield shattered, airbags deployed, the body pulled from the wreck hours later. Though the coroner ruled it an accident, loss of control on wet roads, rumors still spread. People whispered about screams in the woods that night, about a silhouette on the roadside no one could identify. Ivy refused to attend the funeral. Noah sat beside the closed casket, his face hollow. "You'll see. A mother's love doesn't just fade," Marion had said that night. Not on paper, but with thunder tangled in her voice as she stepped through the door. This year's Mother's Day, the 3rd since that night. Ivy was still in her pajamas, sitting motionless in front of a dead TV. On the table, their father had left a bouquet of purple chrysanthemums. She didn't look at them. Noah stood by the door in a white shirt, waiting for his sister to change her mind. "You're not coming with me?" "No. You could at least say sorry." "I don't believe the dead can hear us," Ivy muttered, turning away. Noah slammed his car keys on the table, his voice sharp. "Or maybe you're just too scared to face her." The door slammed shut behind him like a crack through the heart of the house. And outside, the clouds began to gather. Like Hollow Creek itself inhaled deeply, ready to speak again, or summon something back. Ivy stood from the couch, the empty mug still in her hand since morning. She walked to the window, pulled back the curtain. The sky had turned to ash. Far in the distance, right where the accident happened, a spiral-shaped cloud spun slowly above the hills. She hadn't told anyone about the dreams, not dreams of the crash, dreams of her mother, soaked, standing outside the window, rain dripping from her hair, eyes like flooded glass, lips mouthing something Ivy couldn't hear. She used to think it was just her guilt. But each year the dream grew clearer, more detailed, more real. And now, with the first spring storm looming again, something old stirred, like a wound remembering pain. Ivy turned from the window, crossed the dust-choked living room, and headed toward the wooden staircase leading to her mother's room, locked since the funeral. No one cleaned it. No one entered. But last night, Ivy had heard it. 3 knocks, evenly spaced, as if someone was waiting. She paused at the door, hand resting on the cold iron handle. For a brief moment, she thought she heard soft footsteps from inside. "There's no one there," she whispered. But even her own voice sounded borrowed, as if something else was speaking through her. Downstairs, the phone rang. Its shrill tones stabbed through the silence like a needle through skin. Ivy descended slowly. The caller ID glowed. Hollow Creek Police Department. She picked up. "Hello? Miss Clark?" "Yes. We received a call from your residence about 15 minutes ago. It came from an internal line, one listed under Marion Clark's case file." Ivy froze. "We'd like to ask, is anyone else in the house with you?" She turned to look up the staircase, and then 3 knocks. Again, from her mother's room. Mother's Day wasn't over, and the past, it seemed, had never really left. The smell of lavender first crept in at 2:43 a.m. Ivy lay motionless on the living room sofa, her eyes locked on the ceiling, mind adrift through a fog of gnawed memories. That's when she smelled it, faint, almost imaginary. It wasn't candle wax or air freshener. It was specific, familiar, her mother's perfume. Lavender moon. Marion used to say lavender calmed the soul and kept dreams kind. But now, the scent made Ivy's skin crawl. She sat up quickly. The room was empty, all windows closed. No perfume in this house for over 3 years. The scent spread, thickening, suffocating. From upstairs, Noah shouted, "Ivy, did you go into the kitchen?" "I'm in the living room," she called back. "I swear, I just heard someone singing down there." Ivy stood. The air felt denser, like someone had drained all the oxygen. A lullaby, soft, clear. A woman's voice, low and disturbingly familiar. "Hush, little baby. Don't say a word." Ivy stepped back, her heart hammered. She knew that song. Her mother had sung it to her every night as a child. "Noah? It's me!" Noah raced down the stairs, pale. In his hand, he held a framed photo of their mother, one taken during their last winter together. It had tipped over on its own. "I saw it move," Noah whispered, trembling, like someone nudged it. Then came a knock. Soft, rhythmic, like fingers tapping on glass. Both turned toward the back door. A voice drifted in, gentle, sweet, but missing any warmth of the living. "Ivy, Noah, Mommy's home." Neither moved. The knocking continued, steady, patient, as if whoever or whatever outside had no rush. Noah stepped back. "Did you hear that?" Ivy nodded. Every syllable cut deep. That voice, that cadence. It was unmistakable. But it couldn't be. Their mother was gone. They'd seen her body, buried her, mourned her. Ivy crept to the nearest window, parted the curtain. No one there. But the voice came again, closer. "You're not opening the door? Mommy's so cold." Noah whispered, "Maybe it's a sick prank." "No one else knows that song, Noah. Only Mom." The knocking stopped. Silence. 1 minute, 2. They held their breath. Ivy tiptoed to the door, pressing her ear to the wood. Suddenly, a scratch. Sharp, jagged, like nails across tile. "Let me in, sweetheart. Open the door for Mommy." Ivy stumbled backward, hitting the coffee table. She grabbed Noah. "Upstairs, now!" They ran, hearts thudding like thunder in their chests. Reaching the top stair, the lights flickered. A faint pop from the kitchen, then darkness. The scent of lavender lingered, but now it had soured, like rotting petals buried in damp earth. Ivy dragged Noah into her room and locked the door. She reached for her phone. No signal. Downstairs, a door creaked open. Footsteps. Not hurried, not heavy, just certain. One after the other on the wooden floor. Noah whispered, "No one else has a key." Ivy looked at him. Their eyes met. They both knew this wasn't a joke anymore. Then the voice spoke again, right outside the door. "Ivy, Noah, Mommy knows you're in there." Ivy clamped a hand over Noah's mouth before he screamed. She could hear it, the breath on the other side of the door. Long, faint. "Mommy forgives you. I just want to hold you again." Click. The doorknob turned gently. "Let me in." It turned again, then stopped. Neither Ivy nor Noah dared to breathe. Every heartbeat felt like it echoed into the hallway. Ivy leaned in, listening harder. The breathing had stopped. In its place, a breeze, not a normal draft. This had a smell, lavender, mixed now with something chemical, putrid. It burned her throat and made her stomach tighten. Noah clutched her hand. "That's not Mom. It can't be." "She's dead," Ivy whispered. I know she's..." Bang. From the room next door, Marion Clark's room, the one that had been locked for 3 years. Thump, 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 not knocks. Footsteps. Someone, or something, walking inside the locked room. "I locked it," Ivy muttered. She remembered securing it tightly just last night, after the call from the police. Then, without warning, the door creaked open. No one touched it. No one had a key. A dim hallway light cast a shadow, a woman's silhouette, her hair tangled like vines, stretching across the floor. Ivy's bedroom door began to shake. "I just want to hold you," the voice said again, no longer tender. It trembled, desperate, at times overlapping itself with a second voice, rough, broken, dry as leaves. Then, the door burst open. They screamed. Standing there was a tall, thin figure, long black hair draped over her face, a beige dress dotted with faded purple flowers, the same dress Marion wore when they buried her. But her skin was no longer whole. It was gray, torn, blistered, nails long and jagged, eyes rolled back into whiteness, and her mouth stretched impossibly wide in a grotesque smile, exposing uneven, blackened teeth. "My babies," she whispered. The sound didn't come from her mouth. It came from the floor beneath her. Noah froze. Ivy yanked him back. "Don't come near us!" Marion stepped forward, heavy, deliberate, each step causing the wooden floor to creak as if straining beneath more than weight, as if carrying grief, rot, death. The room's light flickered. Her shadow warped, elongated, not human anymore, not even close. "You said you wished I'd disappear, and now you're afraid because I'm here?" Ivy froze. That was the exact sentence she screamed the night her mother left. The one Marion heard before walking out. "No, that's not possible. You can't remember that," Ivy stammered. "Oh, I remember," the voice rasped. "I remember every word you said, every tear you never got to wipe away." The air grew thick, heavy. Ivy glanced out the window, nothing but the black of night and the storm breaking over Hollow Creek. Marion extended a hand, palm up, open, inviting. "Come here, sweetheart. I forgive you. I just want a hug." Without warning, Noah stepped forward, as if pulled by invisible strings. "Noah, don't!" Ivy screamed. But his hand touched Marion's. The moment they made contact, Noah's body convulsed. A weak moan escaped his throat. He dropped like a puppet cut from its strings. "Noah!" Ivy lunged, dragging him back. He hit the floor, unconscious. Marion's expression changed. Her smile died. Her pale eyes pierced through Ivy. "You wouldn't let me hold my son," she snarled, her voice fractured, warped. Without hesitation, Ivy pulled Noah into the hallway and slammed the bedroom door shut. She half carried, half dragged him toward the stairs, her legs nearly giving out. Behind them, footsteps. No longer soft, no longer hesitant, now running, like something no longer human. They reached the ground floor, only to find the back door wide open. Cold wind rushed inside, but no one stood there. Good. Only Marion's voice echoed down the stairs. "You belong to me. No one takes my children away." Ivy threw Noah into the passenger seat of the car, slammed the door, and started the engine. The tires spun. Rain poured. The house vanished behind them. But the scent of lavender lingered in the air, thick, clinging to her lungs like mold. 5 minutes into the drive, Noah stirred, gasping. He clutched Ivy's hand. "It's not her, Ivy. It's not Mom. It knows my dreams." Ivy gripped the wheel tighter, saying nothing. Her tears blurred with the rain. She knew. This wasn't the end. Morning came, pale and gray after a night of heavy rain. The car rolled to a stop in front of a decrepit cabin on the southern edge of Hollow Creek, once owned by their grandmother. abandoned for years. But Ivy remembered her father saying there was a spare key hidden beneath the porch stone. She glanced at Noah, still curled in the seat, his forehead damp with cold sweat. He remembered little after touching the entity, Marion, or whatever they'd escaped. But Ivy remembered every detail, every scratch on the door, every putrid note of the lavender perfume. She got out. The rain had stopped, but the air remained thick. When she bent to retrieve the key, a shiver ran up her spine, as if unseen eyes watched her. The door creaked open. Must and dust filled her nose, but at least no lavender. The cabin was small, one floor, a wooden loft and a cramped living room. Ivy eased Noah onto the couch. He closed his eyes, gripping her hand like it was the only thing anchoring him. Ivy went to the bathroom to fetch water. As she turned to face the mirror, her reflection didn't match her face. She frowned. The figure in the mirror smiled softly back. She stepped back. Then, whispers, not from her mouth, from within her mind. "You've seen me now, Ivy, and I don't forget those who see." The mirror cracked, a single thin line splintering from the inside. All day, Ivy kept Noah hidden, changing locations, turning off their phones, avoiding mirrors, avoiding reflections. But at exactly 3:07 a.m., the lullaby returned. This time, not from the speakers, not from the hallway. It came from inside Noah's pillow. "Hush, little baby. Don't say a word." Ivy tore the pillow open. Inside, nothing but a lock of long black hair, bound tightly with red string. The next day, they went to Hollow Creek's old library. Ivy needed to see Marion's death certificate, and sure enough, it was wrong. It didn't list her cause of death as accident. It said exsanguination, blood loss. The final signature? The cemetery caretaker. They found him, Grayson, 80, hunched and quiet, living in a shed beside the graveyard. When Ivy asked about her mother, he stared for a long time, then said, "She never found rest. You don't bury someone who carries a curse from her own children." Ivy's skin went cold. A curse? That night, when we lowered her in, she wasn't talking to us. She was talking to something else, on the other side. She said, "If they turn their backs, I'll return, no matter what it takes." On the third night after their encounter, Ivy once again saw her mother's reflection, this time in the rearview mirror of the car. Marion was seated in the back seat, smiling faintly. Her lips moved silently. "I don't need a body, just memories. And you're feeding them well, Ivy." Ivy screamed and jerked the steering wheel. The car skidded off the road, jolted to a halt. When she turned to look, Marion was gone. Since then, every time Ivy drifted into sleep, she dreamed of the old house. But Noah was no longer there. Instead, a faceless boy sat on the bed, whispering, "Mommy's looking for someone new." They made the decision to return to the house, one final time. Ivy brought a mirror wrapped in cloth, a handheld camera, and the journal she began the night of the accident. They stepped inside at 11:50 p.m. The lights flickered instantly. Lavender filled the air. Noah clung close, flashlight in hand. "I'm scared," he whispered. "So am I." They placed the mirror in the center of the living room. Ivy turned on the camera. At exactly 3:07 a.m., the mirror began to tremble, without a breeze. Inside the reflection, it wasn't their living room. It was the bedroom from years ago, the one where their mother died. On the bed, a younger Ivy slept, trapped, frozen in a past that never faded. Marion stepped into view. Her eyes didn't blink. She sat beside the sleeping girl, stroked her hair and whispered, "As long as you remember me, I will always remain." The mirror cracked. The camera sparked and smoked. Ivy grabbed Noah, bolted for the door. But before they could step outside, a voice rang out behind them, sharp and echoing, like carved into the air through shattered glass. "You can't run from your own memory." The next morning, Residents of Hollow Creek woke to find the Clark house burned to ash overnight. No signs of life, no bodies. Only a single scorched mirror remained in the living room. On its cracked surface, a message burned through the soot. Happy Mother's Day. And from that year on, every May, locals whisper the same warning. If you find yourself near a mirror at 3:07 a.m. in Hollow Creek, don't stare too long, because sometimes the reflection might smile back before you realize you're alone.